Chapter 10. Chronology of Revelation using the Ethiopian canon, plus St. Irenaeus to define the meaning of Nicolaitans. 1. Rev 12, the Rev 1-5, cf. on Nicolaitans Book I chapter and Book 3 chapter 11. 2. Rev 6:1-11, Rev 13, Rev 7, Rev 11 1-6, Rev 6:12-17, then Rev 8. 3. Rev 10, 1 Corinthians 11:1-10 Genesis 6 verses 1-8, Book of Watchers, Section 2, from Ethiopian Canon, for the eighth head of the seven-headed beast cf. Rev 9 and 17:8 and 11, Jude. 2 Peter 2, then Rev 17. 4. Rev 9, 11:7-19, then Rev 18, cf. 1 Cor 15:52. 5. Rev 14, cf. Rev 6:11, then Rev 15, Rev 16, Rev 19, then Rev 20, cf. Isaiah 65:20, 23:18, and Zech 13, then Rev 21, then 22, cf. Sec 14. The mark of Cain is the mark of the beast. It's the word life in Hebrew. Expect another Neo-Herodian using the Yod, 10, and Chet, 8, to make 18 or 666. No one without the mark will be sanctioned for life, except those who prove themselves through the Rev 13 genocide ordeal with words and not violence. Besides the Mahdi fighting outside Jerusalem in not yet conquered lands, the false prophet rules within the Antichrist rules outside. Look at Chronicle of Riddick movie. That's the structure of the Marduk, Ishtar religion, which is Mystery Babylon. The statue that speaks and the wound that healed in Rev 13 are all major tenets of the Babylonian king cycle and calendar. https://n.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/chi_symbol. https. Martinists, Rosicrucians, and others in the occult have a plan to rebuild the temple for their own occult reasons, in order to desecrate it, following after the sins of Solomon worshiping other gods. Christian Zionism, where Christian denominations want to help usher in a temple they believe becomes polluted, in order to provoke the Second Advent. What is prophesied to emerge is a Neoplatonic Hermetic world fascist empire like Herod's Romanized Judaism structure. The last temple had a Roman eagle perched on its roof, symbolizing it was a Roman treasury. Herod turned the temple into a secular marketplace, like Jesus described it as. Their plan is prophesied to develop into the beast of Revelation 13, where the people are triaged and judged to imprisonment, to death, to wandering in the wilderness, or to receive the mark of their empire as part of the kingdom. It makes sense all people will be triaged around the globe where they fit, religious going to Greater Israel, if there is an empire that emerges as is prophesied in Revelation. They were behind the early Gnosticism movement in the 2nd and 3rd centuries, even in the Essenes culture and the early monastics in Egypt, using their Hellenized Babylonian version of northern Israel. There was a world religion of proto-Gnosticism before in Babylon, as seen in northern Israel's walk. And the Code of Hammurabi, unlike the Exodus 10 Commandments, only helped the rich and disregarded personal property of the poor. Also, the creation myth was anthropomorphized into a human structure of the oligarchy, which carried over to Greece and Mount Olympus. Rome had the same structure absorbed from Carthage, which comes from the Babylonian religion, like as in northern Israel under Assyria and before. They used Hermeticism and syncretism to establish trade routes that were ancient. There was always the Red Sea, the Persian Gulf, the coast of India, the Malacca Straits, and China, including Africa and even the Americas, and they did it to hegemonize their rule that went beyond the empires as a hidden network. Proof is in the Pinhole Cave of England, showing items from India a long time ago, around 10K BC. I couldn't find that resource online. Carol Quigley's book The Evolution of Civilization, Chapter 6 The Matrix of Early Civilizations, on page 200 says that the Pinhole Cave in England contained items from India, like the cowrie shell from the Mesolithic period. The dog, pig, and chicken, not indigenous to England, are other examples of an advanced system of trade routes by sea that we hear about from historians around the 13th and 14th centuries. The entire network followed these unchanging migratory routes from the dawn of civilizations, which waxed and waned like the moon and the tides. Much like USA's many cities would have waxed and waned if there wasn't a command economy from the central banks. But depending on the empire, those trading routes by sea especially were as ancient as the very first civilizations, including the Tigris and Euphrates and Persian Gulf as the Nile was to the Red Sea. Wouldn't surprise me if some Christians become Jewish priests when Ezekiel temple is built. If you look at chapter 44, you'll see some Jews that don't believe become the doorkeepers, while the Zadok become the ones who administer sacrifices. And with the change in the religion to a world faith all-inclusive in the end, that might change the dynamics of the Jewish sections. And not all of them are ethically Jewish, so they might say if you become one of us and deny your faith, you can be one of their priests or at least minister there in some capacity. Saul's kingdom differed from David in that David's kingdom included Hittites and Philistines, and he was descended from a Moabite instead of being purely from the 12 tribes. David and Jesus had a lot in common with Abraham and Job before, but as well as Moses. The abomination of desolation happened before and after Jesus, and he was looking to the end times when the temple is rebuilt to Ezekiel's specifications before it's desolated. 2 are in the field and 1 is taken. That could mean they are taken to Jerusalem. In Thessalonians 4:1 COR 15:52, it's talking about Revelation 11 and 15 at the 7th trumpet. The truth may be that when the temple is rebuilt and there is greater Israel, people might be brought there willing or not willing that think that's the start of the rapture. I'm not sure if that happens at the first seal. It makes sense that the 1st through 4th seal is the destruction of the state of Israel and rebuilding of the temple and new empire. The nations hate the whore, which is the city of Jerusalem, a sinning Israel as described in the prophets as a prostitute that rides on the nations who strip her naked and burn her. During the horseman seals probably. The new empire can be any empire, Islam, Jewish, anything, and then the 5th seal is when the Revelation 13 persecution starts. If all faiths become one and anyone claims to be religious or spiritual, they could be brought there. And this is way after Israel now, which is destroyed and remade. Instead of the star, it's the life or Lechem sign that was on Cain. That's the mark. Greek form of geometria is called isopsephy. It's a little different. They add each the letters or numerals in the word, so 666 is 6 plus 6 please 6 of Chai, and Yod or Lechem is 18. And also 666 with a personality type of Nero and Domitian, which is Hellenized Judaism even more than the Talmud is Hellenized now. Like the non-Jewish Herod was ruling as king back in Jesus' time. The Pope and the structure that emerges the apostatized church is the East-West Orthodox and Catholic Church as a new faith. If you look at the Pope speaking to the other faiths about one God, it's very easy to see who's in charge and more powerful. He's mastering those faiths according to the Jesuit creed, working on usurping the Orthodox into their fold, and also using Islam as an empire. They need an emperor to call an ecumenical council according to tradition. And that is how the faith is changed. Which is why the Muslims say the Antichrist comes out of the Isfahan province of Iran as a Jew/Muslim. And that he rewrites the Quran and all the holy books. So this provokes a rebellion from the faiths who withstand it that are strong. The rest are brought to the capital to be imprisoned or sent into the wilderness, or martyred at that time. Beast from the earth has 2 horns like a lamb and speaks like a dragon. Horns symbolize powers in the Bible like empires. They used to think it was East and West Rome under Diocletian years back. Today it makes more sense that it's the East-West Catholic and Orthodox Church. If those two were ever to get together and hold an ecumenical council to establish a new faith, denying Christ, then they would need an emperor to call that council. Before the split of the church after the 11th century, every ecumenical council had to be called by an emperor starting with Constantine. The beast from the earth forces everyone to worship the beast from the sea, which gets authority from the dragon. Throughout history, the Catholic and Orthodox Church have been infiltrated with various sects of Gnostic dogma, especially the Mariology that entered in against Pope Innocent I's STS decree around the 5th century. And that's the tares among the wheat, even the iron and clay in the Daniel statue. Believers grafted into the tree of Israel against the Gnostics that originate from Babylon. There are very specific prophecies that need to be met in order for Revelation to be accomplished, and the rest is foreshadow and types. The richest, most powerful people in history have been religious Gnostics, so they try and end the world a lot throughout history. This time might be no different, but they are closer now than ever to being able to accomplish worldwide dominion. I'm pretty sure all the major 7 ecumenical councils has been called by an emperor every time. Maybe you should find out if I'm wrong. The dragon, who is the kingdoms that persecuted Israel and Christianity, is Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome, and the coming Nicolite and Gnostic synchronic kingdom as the 7th. The dragon inspires the beast from the sea which rises with the 7th head. The rest of the heads are underneath its kingdom as principalities with princes in a layered pyramid structure, like federal and state walks. The beast from the earth is under the 7th head as part of that fed or royalty as a religious institution. The beast from the sea fights other nations and subdues them. The beast from the earth subdued the populations that are captured. It's how the old system worked originally from Babylon. Bel and Nabu. https://biblehub.com/sermons/auth/skinner/bell_and_nebo.htm. Here's a video of the Chronicles of Riddick, so you can understand easier what it means to have the beast from the sea and earth working together. Rev 17 and Rev 6 talks about a leader from the beast of the sea that is different than the false prophet from Rev 13. So the guy with the 4-faced mask would be like the Antichrist, and the British accent dude would be like the false prophet. https://youtube.be/fkvtfpmric4?9t71eqhvwrfq4ff. The Whore of Babylon is the city Jerusalem with the temple rebuilt sometime before or after. Revelation 11 is pretty specific, describing the place where the beasts from the earth and sea are headquartered, Jerusalem. In the Old Testament, Judah and Israel are called wayward whores when they disobey the covenant, and then they are called pure virgin daughters when they are good. As a city, though, you can see that in the prophets throughout Isaiah and the others. So it's obvious the Whore of Babylon riding the beast is that city that's apostatized from the faith, like Gnosticism and Hellenization did. Rev 17:0. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. Revelation 6 verse 2. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. Rev 13. 5. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. 6. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. 7. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds, and tongues, and nations. 8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. 10. He that letteth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. 12. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. 13. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. 14. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads. 17, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Starting with the 4th century, ecumenical councils differed from previous local councils in 2 respects. They were convoked by emperors, and their decisions became imperial law. The legal use of doctrine was the immediate goal of the emperors to ensure the unity of the empire. None of the ecumenical councils were attended by each and every bishop in the empire, and their doctrinal conclusions were almost never immediately accepted. https://www.equip.org/articles/how-was-orthodoxy-established-in-the-ecumenical-councils.